Inside Blitz NFL, week number 6. I'm here touching greatness with Ted Sobel and Ron from Ron A Sports. What's going on, fellas?
Well, it should be another good week, guys. We got some great sound for our show today. I got Packers quarterback Jordon Love and head coach LaFleur, and we are going to go over the Buffalo Bills disaster at the end of their last game with Sean McDermott coming up with 400 reasons why he has no idea why he had those reasons. to not call a timeout, to not run the ball, to not work the clock. Ron, that game had to give you a headache and might still be working on the Excedrin.
I don't know if it gave me a headache, but it gave Josh Allen a headache in terms of the concussion protocol. But it's good to talk week 6. It's usually a very, very quiet week for me after a busy week 5. Actually, the first 5 weeks have been busier for me than usual with a lot of opinions. I'm happy to have only a small amount of opinions this week, but still some very good games. It's kind of teams jockeying for position this week. There's still a lot of early buzz in terms of flipping the conference leadership, starting with Seattle, San Francisco tonight, and then ending with Buffalo and the Jets on Monday. We have a lot of important divisional games. It's pretty interesting, week 6.
Yeah, we always start with the Thursday night game, of course, and San Francisco at Seattle. We're not sure what's going on with the 49ers. From a health standpoint, they definitely have more issues. Their safety, Hufanga, is on IR now, and that hurts. He was so good last year, and when he wasn't hurt. So that's bad news there. They had to sign a new kicker because that was a hole after last week, and that affected what they did in that game, Ron.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And when you look at San Francisco, they're sitting at 2-3. We talked offline, Ted, and it's not all Super Bowl hangover. It's a lot of still missing pieces at linebacker and in the secondary. They were never rated that highly by me in the secondary to begin with. And so starting it off, Cris, where do you have their defensive numbers? In fact, where do you have their defensive and offensive numbers for San Francisco? Are they a 2-3 team, or are they just ready to turn on the switch?
Well, I have both of these teams side by side in all 3 categories: offense, defense, and overall. So I find that interesting. Let's see.
Any idea what the latest odds are to win the division? That should be, I assume San Francisco's one of the rare teams that would be favored to win a division under 500.
Oh, I'm certainly
they're favored
to win that.
Right. But I mean, how often does that happen?
No,
it doesn't happen very often later in the season.
Yeah,
right. Of course, it's not that late in the season yet, but still, they still have issues. What can I say?
Yeah. So I would have San Francisco as a very mediocre defensive team, kind of right in the middle of the pack.
I have them below middle.
Yeah, I have them probably tie 17-18 in that area right now. In terms of Seattle, competition faced, you could argue, what's going on with Seattle, but I would be like you, pretty close side by side, but I actually have Seattle a little bit lower. But this is a home game on a Thursday, short week, chance to put some distance between San Francisco and Seattle. So we're going to get the best effort of both teams.
So what are you saying? The Niners need Robert Saleh back? Is that what you're saying? He's available.
Yeah, well, they haven't found their footing, but I think there's some missing parts again. Their pass rush is going to be very important against Geno Smith. But my line of scrimmage analysis doesn't really give an edge for either team in this game.
Well, that and mine doesn't either. So I'm sitting there saying, I can't believe 3.5. I've got a 4 available to me right now.
Wow. Yeah. My number, of course, my San Francisco number is circled, so it's hard to really use that number. But it did surprise me that it crossed 3. There's no question about it.
Yeah, Geno Smith, 0-5 lifetime on Thursday nights, and 0-2 against San Francisco. I don't know how much that comes into play in these numbers.
I think you just play the opponent, and if you look at head-to-head, it's a pretty contentious. It's you can't make heads or tails of what's going on when San Francisco goes to Seattle. There have been some lean years for Seattle, but also some years where they've either won as a dog or they've been that good and they could be a short favorite in the series. So I have to discount series history. I'll give Seattle a little bit of an edge for the fact that it's a short week and San Francisco has to go in with a new kicker and has to scramble a little bit. And the matchup analysis, similar to Chris's side-by-side, is pretty close. Bottom line is 3.5 is probably too many points.
Yeah,
I want to ask you, how often, if ever, are you factoring in the referee data in a particular game?
Not as often as I should, because it takes some time for me to parse that out. I will look at it if I have a concern about somebody's offensive or defensive line, or I notice something in terms of statements made or physicality or hatred between the teams. And then I look and see, does Baltimore versus Pittsburgh, for example, have a referee that calls a lot of penalties? Because when Baltimore plays Pittsburgh, it lends itself well, to more penalties anyway, because these teams really dislike each other. But the quick answer is not enough. I should do a little bit more.
How are these teams doing this year penalty-wise?
Yeah, I do not have the answer to that, so I can't pretend to have it. I would say in general, my best guess off the cuff is that they're not penalty-ridden teams.
And I'm obviously trying to just get to a point because this is really annoying to me. Craig Rolstadt is the referee.
Okay, I know him.
Home underdogs are 20-36 with him as the ref.
Wow.
And they are calling 57.5% penalties on the offense in two key categories: false starts and offensive holding. And number one, ineligible man downfield.
Offensive holding would probably more to a detriment to Seattle because they are younger in that area and they have to defend Bosa. So if you want to look at any kind of edge that way, maybe that's a slight San Francisco edge because they're going to be watching what happens when Bosa tries to rush the passer.
Yeah, Brock Purdy is 4-0 lifetime against the Seahawks, so he's done pretty well in that matchup for sure. Is the line where you guys made it, or is there any value this week?
There's too much value.
Yeah, I made it San Francisco 2.
Wow.
Circled for injuries.
Okay, so definite value on the dog here. Are you leaning? Are you doing it?
Already done.
Already done. Okay. At 4?
No, I don't have 4. I have 3.5.
Okay. I was going to say 4 sounds pretty nice too,
Yeah. So.
All right. Anything else on this one, guys?
No, I see some mixed reviews in the chat. A lot of people liking Seattle, but one or two didn't know quite where to go on this game. So,
I've never heard of a team doing all walkthroughs. Have you? Do they do that on a Thursday?
I didn't notice that this week. But you know what? I mean, it's probably not that unusual depending on the health of the team on a Thursday night game. You're not going to be doing heavy practice anyway.
More common for road teams, so it's a little bit unusual for a home team to do that.
I do like Birdie's comment here. Would you guys think the importance of the 49ers off a 95-degree game with high humidity now traveling in a short week, similar to what the Bucs did on their last game and got smoked in the second half?
Well, it's not exactly a long travel, so I'm not too worried about that.
That's true.
Partial analysis. I think that the other analysis you would have to do is how many snaps did the offense take? How many snaps did the defense take? I would be concerned if the defense was on the field, let's say 36, 37 minutes and played a lot of snaps. And then it's a quick turnaround. Maybe there's a little bit more of a recovery time needed. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't factor it in.
Well, I guess the follow-up is that it is not unusual for a team to do that on Thursday games.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
They know each other. So the key thing here is if you're going to do walkthroughs, at least these teams play each other twice a year. They know each other.
Right.
I would like to comment. I mean, this is one of these situations that is absolutely desperate for San Francisco. They're on the outside looking in. Seattle's in the playoffs at this point. San Francisco isn't at this moment. And as somebody in the chat said, San Francisco is already 0-2 in the division. And look what they have to go through coming up. They have to play Kansas City next. Then they get to Dallas. Then they have to go to Tampa Bay. Then they play Seattle again. Then they go to Green Bay and to Buffalo. Then they've got the Bears coming in. They may be decent. And then the Rams. I mean, they've got a real tough run here.
The other thing, I mean, they have a first place schedule, but they also have, as noted in May and beyond, they have a very bad, league worst -20 or -21 rest differential. So they're going to play a lot of teams that have an advantage in days off between games. So San Francisco had to be better than last year to equal what they did last year, which was, a really, really good team. And because of injuries and because not filling the holes, in my opinion, draft-wise, their first-round draft pick obviously hasn't seen the field yet, and other factors such as that, they're not better than last year, and they're facing this tough schedule, and they've been beaten up a little bit, being 2-3 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I see the Dustin says San Francisco a good survivor pick this week. I wouldn't go too crazy on that. I'd hate to be eliminated that way, but I like what Handicap to Cap says 3 games in 10 days for Seattle.
Yeah, and thank you very much for bringing that up, because that's a new thing this year. It's only happened 2 or 3 times, and now we're seeing it 9 or more times, I think, this year. It is a bad spot for Seattle in that regard. They're home, it's a Thursday night and so on, but that's not the most ideal situation to be playing a physical game 3 in 10 days.
Yep. Let's go to a place where I guarantee you it's not going to be 98 degrees or 98 to anything. Let's go to London, where the Jags live part-time during the season every year. It's their 12th time playing there. And how about Caleb and the Bears have won 2 in a row? Are they the elite team that everybody says they're not? Thought I'd throw that in.
I don't think anybody's saying they're elite yet.
I know, I'm joking. What do you think, guys?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to bring up at times during the show, and I wanted to get Chris's comments on this too, and yours, Ted. Chicago is one of the 4 teams that I don't feel like I have a perfect handle on right now. I don't know what Caleb Williams' ceiling is in his first year in the league right now. I've seen rookie-like numbers. He had a very good last week, but it was against Carolina, and everybody right now is having a good week against Carolina. Carolina's completely beat up. They're missing like 6 or 7 starters defensively. Yep. He has a 5.4 touchdown interception ratio. He has very decent but not spectacular CJ Stroud rookie numbers by any means, or even Daniels from this year. So I just don't know what to think about Chicago other than they're learning how to win. They learned how to win at the end of last year. Teams that learn how to win, they're going to win some of these close games like we're seeing from Houston. Maybe Chicago is this year's Houston. That's all. I don't think they're a great team, but Cris, they're learning how to win, but they're still an unknown in my eyes.
Yeah, but I do feel better about them than I did to start the season.
Okay.
I felt that they were one of the teams that had the widest range of variance, and the variance is closing significantly compared to the beginning of the season. So in that respect, it's a positive. I feel like their defense is pretty good. I mean, it's decent. It's going to keep them in ball games. So
I think it's better than pretty good.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think the best part of the Bears offense is the fact that their defense is going to keep them in the game.
Well, I have Chicago. I have is the 5th best defense so far.
Yes, they're right up there. Absolutely.
So
that makes sense.
If they can maintain that, that's going to give them a lot of opportunity.
Look, with whatever we say about Eberflus, you can't say he's not a good defensive coach, and that's what's the best part of their game. Happy birthday, Geno Smith.
They're keeping their running backs healthy, which is helpful to a rookie quarterback, of course. The offensive line is incomplete. I mean, I still think they have some problems. They've allowed 17 sacks, so it's not just me saying that. It's the actual stats proving that out. I only have them a half a power rating higher than I did at the beginning of the year. But it's, there's so many teams bunched in the middle. They're just kind of all bunched in the middle. And this is not a great Jacksonville team. They got to win, but in some respects they should be better than 1-4. But they're beating themselves. They're winning in spite of themselves. I mean, they had to hang on against Indianapolis when they could have had that game won. They're closer to 0-5 because of the way they're not closing out games.
How about the importance of this FYI, guys? Chicago Bears got to London early, and the Jags are leaving today.
What?
They couldn't get out of town because of the hurricane. So
that's some good info. I didn't know that.
How much does that come into play? Yep, that's the latest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think in a matchup analysis, Chicago, I believe they're still about 2.5-point favorite, if I'm correct.
It's 1.5. It's 1.5. Pretty much.
Ever 2.5?
Okay. Yeah, it was 1.5. I guess it's more 1.5 than anything else. I mean, I don't have a play on this game. I don't have any situations that fit or anything. But if I had to lean, I would lean Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, by the way, 5th in the league in points allowed at 17 a game. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they play good defense, so they're not asking their quarterback to do too much. It's really about the offensive line. Jacksonville is a slightly below average defense at putting pressure on the quarterback and getting home to the quarterback. They have 11 sacks. Nothing fantastic, but it's okay. But I think Chicago is going to have some open receivers. It's rare for, maybe I'm wrong, but it's rare to see a Chicago over-under priced as high as it is. And I think one of the reasons is because there's some more trust in Chicago's offense this year, and there's less trust in Jacksonville's defense this year.
Well, where do you have Jacksonville's defense?
Oh, my goodness.
I take a while.
I would probably say in the mid-20s.
I've got them pretty darn low. So
yeah, I mean that's a feather for Chicago to just run their offense and just take care of business, because Jacksonville doesn't do anything particularly well defensively.
Great point by Birdie that on this 11th trip for Jacksonville, they actually usually
12th
do
trip
leave
actually.
that Friday morning.
Well, maybe not their 12th trip, because I think they were there once for a 2-week stay or something, right? Is that what?
Yeah,
happened?
I think Birdie screwed that up.
That's all right. It's their 12th. It doesn't matter. But bottom line is, though, that if they do leave a day later, that takes you a little out of your routine, and who knows how that is going to affect a squad.
Assuming they're staying at the same hotel and they know what's going on,
right?
Let's just see what they do on the field.
Right, but they couldn't have had a normal last 24 hours either, though, with what's going on. So
yeah, no.
So who knows? Anyway, enough of that game, because I'm not going. It's too far of a walk. But there's one game that Ron and I are pissed off about because we don't get to see it here in Southern California, and that's your Baltimore and Washington football team game.
Oh, the snooze fest game. Is that?
Yeah.
I don't anticipate anything in that game. Do you guys?
Is it the Battle of the Beltway? Is that what they're calling it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think something like that. Hey, look, let's see what Lamar Jackson, he's been dominating rookie quarterbacks on the other side, 9-1 against them. So here you go, Jaden Daniels. What are you going to do against the Baltimore Ravens vaunted D? I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does in this game. I think it's going to say a lot about him.
And Baltimore's flipped the script a little bit back to the olden days when it was hard to run on them. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't think Washington will have traditional success against the run, but I do think Jalen Daniels presents a special set of circumstances because he has unique talent to get to top speed pretty fast. So the matchup in the run game is really about, can you keep him in the pocket?
I think you're going to just hope to contain him, right?
Right, absolutely.
Is this game still under 7?
Yeah, it actually it was a telegram release about 30 minutes ago and bounced off 7. And I believe there is one. Yeah, DraftKings has a 7 minus 115. I kind of knew that this thing. If you're reading this market and you're following this game, the initial reaction, as far as I was concerned, and other people that I know were concerned, is how the hell is that line still 6.5? When a lot of people felt that line was nuts. And
so did you get in early?
The fact that this game is not only holding, drizzling up, really tells you something. I mean, if you're a Washington backer, which I am, you have to, unfortunately, you've got to take a closer look at it and maybe consider other options. I'm having a sinking feeling that the 6.5 isn't going to be enough for Washington. And I kind of thought that the points weren't going to matter anyway in this game because it just felt like a game where either Baltimore has one of those typical home missteps where Harbaugh screws up something and or something goofy happens and they lose unexpectedly. But then that doesn't fit in this category because, nobody's going to be absolutely shocked if Washington wins this game. So it just feels like a game that Baltimore could blow them out of the water too, though. So I'm not sure the points matter.
Yeah, it's hard to put a power rating on a Washington team that is completely different culturally and roster-wise from this year to last year. I do put power ratings on every team, so I have one, and I think the line is good as far as where my power ratings are. I could see a 6.5 very easily. I think it's a fascinating game from a learning standpoint for me. I would be very uncomfortable backing either team. I can make a case for Baltimore because I think they have the weapons offensively to, punt one time or something in the game, and that's about it. I think they should go up and down the field. But I can make the case for Washington that Baltimore hasn't quite seen a team with this kind of confidence and this kind of quarterback, and they can't prepare for the old Washington. They have to prepare on a 4 or 5 game sample size. And we've seen Baltimore, no matter what the lead is, still give up points. And there's enough talent on Washington, McLaurin and otherwise, that they can match them stride for stride if they have to.
Yeah.
We've seen Washington front run the whole season, haven't we? We haven't seen Washington have to come from behind that I can remember, have we?
Yeah, I don't remember what the situation
Very little,
was.
if so.
38-33 against Cincinnati, but I don't remember the dynamics of that game, whether they lost the lead and then came back at the end for one for that last drive. Seems to me that Cincy put its head in front for a little bit.
I just can't wait to see what Jaden Daniels does against the defense. What is that? Any other thoughts on this game, guys?
Well, if you saw the Tuesday show, you know that I put something out there that I don't normally put out, and I'm looking at a fast start for both teams. So let's see if that happens.
First half play for total points?
No, we were talking first quarter.
First quarter.
And you could still get a 9.5 at DraftKings and FanDuel.
You don't mention that too often.
Only on week 18 do I mention first quarter, but that's for a completely different reason. There's so many fabulous situations week 18 with that. There's not usually a week 6 thing, so it's speculation on my part. But you've got two highly confident offenses right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get ready to talk Green Bay Packers, since I got a chance to connect with their key guys last week here in LA when they beat the Rams. A little bit of an ugly game there, but you get the job done on the road. And it wasn't really a road game, as we'll hear from the other guys. There was probably 65% minimum Packers fans, which is unbelievable. I mean, this, I always joke, yes, Dallas is America's team by long-standing media factors, but Green Bay is truly America's. I mean, I have more people in my math class in high school than live there. So, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, right?
And Pittsburgh travels well too.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh is not as small as Green Bay, is what I'm talking. There's a bunch of traveling. Yeah. I'm talking about the size of the city. It's several blocks, and that's it. So, I mean, it's really amazing. It's not, of course, a lot of those people don't live there. They've just become Packers fans, but it's a great story, and it's fun to watch. And there are more cheeseheads in L.A. I couldn't believe. I thought it would at least get like half off provolone or something at SoFi Stadium, but it never happened. I could tell you, though, that the Packers now are home for a couple of games off a win against the Cardinals. We'll see how that goes. But let's hear from Jordon Love, who I first asked after the game what it was like playing in front of, it was basically a home field advantage.
Jordon, were you a little surprised that it was almost like a home field advantage today? I know you guys have great coverage from your fans all over, but here was amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I think Packers fans travel well everywhere we go. So, yeah, I'm never surprised about that. And it's awesome to be able to see that many fans be able to get here.
So how do you assess the overall offense to this stage, your expectations coming out of camp, and then what you've done in the first 5 weeks?
Yeah, I think there's so much that we need to build on. I think we leave a lot of plays out there, and then we make some really good plays as well. So, I think it just comes down to consistent execution and trying to be as clean as we can for 4 quarters. And I don't think we've done that yet. I don't think we've played a full 4-quarter game that's clean. So there's so much stuff that we can look back on and watch film when we get back, and stuff to clean up. But I like who we have, and I think we're just going to keep building. But there's definitely a lot of stuff to clean up.
So that's Jordon Love after the Rams game. Remember, the previous week, they had to come from behind down 4 touchdowns against Minnesota, and they almost pulled it off. But, they had a nice late rally, but they can't do that very often. They'll be in huge trouble. And that's one of the issues with this team, totally inconsistent on the offensive side. And Romeo Doubs is still, I don't know what his story is for this week, but question mark coming off the being suspended a game.
I saw a video where he interacted with the LaFleur interacted with Dobb, and there's something wrong there. So they're tolerating him at this point, and that's not good. I was actually kind of surprised. Ron, I'm curious what you think. Did the Rams do a better job than what we would have expected, or did Green Bay basically not do as well as they could have when they met? Because that game could have gone either way. I know a lot of people like the Rams, and I think you did too. I kind of looked at it the other way, and Green Bay should have been able to put them away under the circumstances with how decimated the Rams are. How do you look at that?
Well, I think we talked about the fact that the Rams are really competing. They're competing in every game. The week before, when I had Chicago as a 4-star play, I came away more impressed with the Rams. So my handicap on the Rams was I knew they were going to run Kieran Williams into Green Bay's line. And this is another one of my teams where I know Green Bay changed defensive coordinators, but the only benefit from that is that they lost Joe Barry, who was, Green Bay fans will tell you, they couldn't wait to have Joe Barry lead the building. The new defensive coordinator, everything's going okay, which means it's an improvement. But I really thought the Rams would be able to dictate some of the play offensively in that game. And then, yes, Jordon Love would probably have an advantage over the Rams secondary, but Jordon Love, to me, was still not 100%. And the fact that they only put up 24 points, I think, proved that. I just thought the Rams would be scrappy. Remember, the line was 3.5. And I got 3.5. A lot of people got 3.5. And when you get the hook, you're in good shape. If Cardi doesn't miss the extra point, they don't have to go for 2 later on. And the game likely falls 3. So my impression to your question is that the Rams hung tough and that it was a toss-up game. And in the end, the Green Bay prevailed.
Yeah. I could say that from a personal standpoint, I've had a great relationship with the Packers media relations people for decades, right? And Aaron Rodgers has been nice to me, and they've made sure that Aaron came on my show at least once a year, which, you know, quarterbacks don't usually do for radio. They could care less, which is very, very nice. But they also did a great little thing after the game. They walked me over to Jordan Love's locker when he was getting ready to leave to introduce me to him, which was very nice. We talked for a few minutes, and I was very impressed. Really good guy. And I asked him, so how you feeling, you know, with that leg situation? He says, you know what? I felt really good today. And I watched him closely. He did move around much better than I expected him to. He scrambled a few times, got out of the pocket when he had to. So I think under the circumstances, he's doing great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised the defense is rating higher for them than the offense. Do you have it the same way, Ron?
Defensively, I have them pretty much league average, I would say, in the 14 range. And the offense, I think the offense is close to top. I have the offense a little bit higher than what their defense would be. But there's room for improvement still offensively.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from a defensive standpoint, they are leading the league in takeaways. One of the main things that I wanted to ask head coach Matt LaFleur about. So let's hear from Matt as I talked to him in the postgame on Sunday.
Coach, you lead the league in takeaways, and that's about as good a stat as you want for pretty much at the end of the year. How does that fit into the overall scheme of things and praising the D?
Yeah, that's everything. I mean, the ball is everything, and we talk about it each and every week, and then every week there's great examples around the league. Everybody, if you win the ball, you got a great chance at winning the game. And unfortunately, week one, we won the ball and still didn't win the game, but it does give you a much better chance to come out on top.
Nice to be above water at 3-2, but overall, after 5 weeks, what do you want to see get better in the next 5 weeks?
Yeah, you either get better or you get worse. You're never staying the same, and every week is a new challenge, and I know that's a lot of coach speak, but I believe in that. And but I think it all starts with your preparation and how you approach it, and your willingness to put the work in to strive to get better in practice, and that gives you the confidence to go out there and make plays in the game. There's certainly a lot of areas where we have to get better. Again, penalties are a consistent problem. Certainly don't have the answer for that right now. It's extremely frustrating, and it's been an Achilles heel for us, and it's a big reason why we haven't won more, in my opinion. So that's something that we have to get corrected, and we better do it quick, because I want to say this is probably the most penalized team that we've had in my 6 years in Green Bay. It's crazy to even think that right now, but that is an area that we have to address, have to get better in. It's hard to get into a flow and show any consistency. It's like we have opportunities to make some plays, and then we get a false start or whatever it may be. There were a couple critical plays on the defensive side, and it's just something that we have to focus on and really hone in and try to get corrected.
There you go. That's Matt LaFleur. And you know what? He gave me a really nice long answer for that question. And this is post game. That's not the Tuesday news conference, So that was really nice. But he looked at me. You could see he said, yeah, we stink when it comes to that. If we don't clean that up, we're in trouble. And I think that's a huge factor in their team besides the takeaways, because if they didn't lead the league in takeaways, they'd be under 500 right now.
We've talked about it. Each turnover worth 3.5 points. People have come around to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So it does make a difference. Tennessee and Vegas, by the way, are the worst two in turnover margin. And, their teams are not that great to begin with, and they're shuffling quarterbacks and so on. So,
right. Thoughts on the game itself? Is it 5.5, the Pack over the Cardinals?
No thoughts from me.
I just, Arizona has a little bit of a break in their schedule ahead, and compared to most schedules. So I just think it's quite possible they come away with the win last week. We had, some optimism for the team coming into the season, and this is about the time where you see sometimes teams put it together, and all of a sudden they come into form, and with the weaker schedule ahead, they very well could be at the top of the division in some way, somehow, at some point.
Yeah.
Good test, Murray versus that defense. So
and
more learning stuff from me.
Arizona scored on the opening drive in all 5 of their games this year. So talk about first quarter plays. Take a look at that. What's the OU in the quarter on that?
That's a nice tidbit. You get a gold star for that.
I'm here to help occasionally. And by the way, the Packers, but I just one more note, the Packers said they will try, and who knows, but they'll try to get me Jordon Love for a podcast when the season is over. But that's a giant TBD. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in.
I want to go backwards just for a second, because one thing we didn't touch upon in Washington-Baltimore was who's going to start at quarterback for Baltimore. Not for Baltimore. I guess we have to save that one for the Indy with the Joe Flacco.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't really going to talk about that, other than I do want to put that quiz question out there.
Okay. Are we ready for the quiz, right?
Yeah. I heard of a fantastic interview with Joe Flacco.
Okay.
So, we can segue to the Indy and who should start, Joe Flacco, or should it be Richardson? And I'm curious what you guys think as to who should start. But Joe Flacco was interviewed on Sirius XM, and one of the interviewers was Rich Gannon. So easy question for some of you, but what do Joe Flacco and Rich Gannon have in common? No looking it up.
They're both older than Richardson's mom.
Come on, chat. Without looking it up, what did
chat line? Come on, guys. And absolutely don't cheat, because otherwise it's not fun or real.
And you can't say they're both. You can't say they're both quarterbacks.
They both went to the Super Bowl. I know that. They won a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, I talked to Rich Gannon after the.
All right. In
Rich
the
Gannon
interest of time, I will give you another hint. They both went to the same college. What college was it? Yes, Jay-Z. Same university.
Near
what
Baltimore?
College did they go to? I'll give you another hint. It's a state name. It's the name of a state.
Can I ask, did I get it right when I quickly threw it out at you?
What did you say? I forgot.
Well, if I say it, I'm going to give my answer. I don't.
All right, give your answer.
I thought it was Maryland, but I don't remember for sure.
No, but at least you're in the right area code.
Montana.
No, Montana. It's not in the same area.
Tubby Raymond was one of their coaches. University of Delaware.
Delaware. I knew it was down the street from
Yeah.
Maryland.
Not too far from there. University of Delaware, who under Tubby Raymond, although Flacco didn't play for him, 36 years as a
Tubby
coach, 3 championships, only 4 losing seasons, and a very accomplished painter, I believe, as well.
So how much did Delaware pay you to bring that up today?
Yeah. The Blue Hens, I think. I don't know.
I got to side with Bertie on this one because NFL guys like us are not interested in anything college related. So you get a kick in the nuts.
No, most NFL players do come from college. Maybe they don't graduate from college, but college is important to them if they want to have an NFL career. So,
all right. So,
anyway,
so Flacco's going this week, I assume, again, right? We don't know yet about Richardson.
We don't know. We're waiting for that announcement.
Okay.
I will say for the audience and for all of us, my opinion on that game is that they are 2 very different quarterbacks. And it does make a difference to me in my handicapping, and it should make a difference to everybody's handicapping, how you go about looking at that game from a matchup standpoint. They are 2 very different quarterbacks.
Specifically against the Tennessee D, which is number 1 in total defense and defensive pass so far in the season. I mean, that's pretty good stuff. You and I were talking off air here about the Tennessee D and how their coordinator has changed things up.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with what I still perceive as a lack of talent on the team, what they're doing defensively, specifically against the pass, since under their former head coach, Mike Vrabel, they did not defend the pass very well. They allowed a lot of soft completions in that particular area. So they don't have any more talent than they had before because they don't draft well, but they're allowing under 60% completion. I don't know how that'll be kept up, but it'll be a very interesting game from a strategic standpoint. I'm another learning situation for me with these teams and these defenses.
Yeah, but Tennessee's got to be able to move the ball against a very bad Indy D, and their unstableness at quarterback doesn't help there.
So, Cris, where do you lean in this game? Because right now I have no play on the game, but the new coach early bye, I really like for Tennessee.
Well, this game's been a big aggravation point for me because there's some monster trends that favor Tennessee based on history, and you kind of knew that Pittman's out, Taylor's out, Richardson's barely in. The defense sucks for the Colts. I should have had a position on Tennessee, and I'm sitting there looking at the 1.5, and I'm like, well, that seems like easy pickings. Why is that still there? And I just, looked at it like this house by the side of the road and did nothing with it. But that's because the model favors Indianapolis a little bit at that time. So I have to do some more work and factor in exactly who ends up in this lineup. I might very well end up on Indy, and it makes me nauseous to say that.
Good news for Will Levis. They announced today he will not need shoulder surgery after the season. That was a concern for him. But, Pittman's out multiple weeks with a back injury, and they were hoping Jonathan Taylor was going to play this game, but if he didn't practice today, it looks pretty doubtful.
Before we get to Monday night, what are your thoughts currently about Devontae Adams and that situation?
Yeah, I would fully expect him to go to the Jets, that they'll find a way to make a deal work. But and Cris absolutely thinks I'm insane for saying that. His head looked like a bobblehead doll the way he moved on that one. Are you looking at New Orleans? Because that was the other team that looks like is the obvious situation there with his old buddy Derek Carr, who's going to be out a while anyway. So,
no, I was shaking my head because Malik Neighbors did not practice.
Oh,
So,
okay.
That's a different story.
Yeah, that's
And-
a whole.
and
Sorry, I couldn't
believe
read your mind on that one.
I believe that makes him unable to play Monday now.
If he's not able to practice on Thursday, I don't know about that. I think he still has time.
Malik Neighbors plays Sunday night, so it's even
Sunday
worse.
night. That's
Oh,
right.
Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday
so
night.
he can't play now.
All right. Well,
I don't
did
think.
you already play them, or you're just or you wanted to?
Yeah.
Take the over if Flacco plays. I like that, actually, Russell, because Flacco could help both teams with Tennessee's press defense.
Right.
Yeah, you want the over.
Not a bad look.
The under with Richardson.
Yeah, not a bad look with Flacco in the game because they're going to throw more with Flacco in the game.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's so night and day different how many passes they attempt with Flacco as opposed to Richardson. Yeah. So I'm making a mental note, Russell. Thank you.
Before we go to the Monday night game, I want to talk about briefly about a couple of others because I want to get your thoughts on Bo Nix and what he's doing, getting in the win column, and what you expect at home against the Chargers this week, who are coming off a bye and getting healthier. And I think they got their tackles back this week, so that helps. And also the change of quarterback for the Raiders with O'Connell now taking over for Minshew, and they're at home to Pittsburgh.
Go first, Cris.
Isn't it? That's just like going from one bad fast food restaurant to another, isn't it?
Could be. How does it affect how you see the game from a line standpoint?
Nothing. It's a nothing burger.
Okay.
Nothing from me either. No change in power rating.
Okay, but your thoughts on Bo Nix and what he's doing at this point to get going for 3 in a row here?
More about the Denver defense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, that's where they are. The Chargers have a new coach rest as well. I'm not on this particular game. Cris may have other opinions on it because we really don't know what the Chargers are about right now. We know they get a bunch of guys back healthy. So if it wasn't the new coach bye, I would think differently. But I think that LA Charger defense is going to be, again, fundamentally sound. I think if you get 20 in this, if you can get 20 points in this game from either team, you're going to win it.
And we should go to the Monday night game, but I can't do that because Cris will be pissed off at me. I didn't mention the Lions at Dallas. Is that spread still 3.5?
The Lions?
Yeah.
No, that's it's all
3.
over the place. There's flat 3s and there's weak 3.5s, but
Really?
it's mainly strong 3s.
Okay. So your thought with Detroit off the bye there, and Dallas has beaten them 5 straight times.
Well, and obviously last year they got hosed with the 2-point conversion that would have won them the game, and the referee hosed them. And that's the same place that they got the pass interference wasn't called in 2015. They need to get this monkey off their back, and there's no better opportunity. There's no Parsons. There's no I don't think if Parsons is there, he's going to be, he's not going to be 100%, and he hasn't been playing well even before he got injured. So Lawrence is out. Cooks is out, right?
Yep.
They're on the short week. So and they played really well, and they had to play really hard against Pittsburgh too. So I think you get kind of a little more beat up too in that type of that game. I saw a lot of player to player contact, so to speak, after the plays where they were emotionally invested. So all those little things take its toll. There's no excuse for Detroit not winning this game.
I just need to ask you: does that D on your baseball jersey there, does that stand for Detroit or Dallas? Which one does that stand for this week?
That's the Tigers.
Oh, okay. I know. Just want to see.
I will tell you one thing though.
Yeah.
I can tell the market move, the market indications, and the undercurrent is that the Dallas is supposed to be the sharp side in this, and good luck.
Your thoughts, Ron, on the game, on the spread?
I have really good situations going both ways. As an aside, I disagree with the referee hosing last year. I think Detroit tried to pull a fast one, but Detroit should be the play for me in this game, but it can't be based on my numbers because you're paying a premium for Detroit in this game because Detroit should not be -3. But I do think Detroit will cover that 3, but I cannot play the game because going against power rating dogs in my history would be like winning 44% of the time. So I just can't do it. I have to leave the game alone. One closing thought on Devontae Adams. I think Buffalo is a team that should take him. Buffalo should go because Buffalo is one good wide receiver away from writing their offense. And right now they have an injured Shakur and everybody else is new to the team. That's the team that I would make the favorite.
Yeah, the problem with that is I don't think the Jets would allow that to happen and they would make a better deal and not want to screw up their division. That's what's my thought.
Yeah, well, the Jets would have to overpay for that, but they're the
Jets. They're the Jets. Exactly. So I would fully expect the Jets to do whatever it takes to get him. Yeah, remember, this is all like a waiting game here. They're waiting for his hamstring to be 100%. They're going to get the best deal, the Raiders. And I think the Jets will eventually give him the best deal.
So speaking of, segue to Buffalo since Devontae Adams to Buffalo. Tell me what, I asked you to get some Sean McDermott tape because if I would I'm so close to firing the guy.
Yeah, right. Unfortunately, you're not the general manager, so I don't know what you can do about that, but good luck. Well, let's look at the fact that the Bills are at the Jets on Monday night, okay? You got the turnaround factor for the interim head coach here. By the way, Ron and I talked this morning. Since we've spoken, because we mentioned this and we didn't have an answer for it. Since we spoke this morning, the new interim, Jeff Ulbrich, announced that Nathaniel Hackett will not be calling plays. Okay. Yep. So now you got Todd Downing is the guy to take over in that department. How were your thoughts on that before we get to the other stuff with your buddy McDermott, Ron?
Well, if not for Rodgers, Hackett wouldn't have been calling plays this year. Right. So my thoughts are, okay, whatever. He's been on the staff. He's had input already. I can't make anything of it. I don't think it's it's not a plus. And hopefully in Rodgers' head, it's not a minus.
Right. But here, go ahead, Chris.
I think it's like going to one bad fast food restaurant and going to another one.
You've been eating way too much fast food.
He's got that on his mind.
And where are we going
might
for
be
lunch?
Eating some now. I don't know.
I think those are leftovers from a previous fast food dinner. Anyway, my thoughts are everybody loves the conspiracy theory that Rodgers had Saleh fired, but let's look at this now. Okay, if the decision was that they were going to dump Nathaniel Hackett anyway from his duties, then that's not the reason it happened. Because it was, immediately the interim makes that change. So that doesn't make any sense. Am I right or wrong on that?
They did poll. There was a private poll of 10 NFL executives in the know, and
yes,
all 10 of them said that they would not have fired Saleh, and it was way too early for that.
Well, I tend to agree with that. Even though I'm the one who's been saying for about 2 years now, almost every week on the show, he's not a head coach, but that's a separate issue. It's still, to start the season, I think it's a little bit quick to get rid of a guy. In the meantime, the Buffalo Bills screwed everything up in the last minute of the last game against Houston, which Ron had a piece of the action all over the place, I guess, in that game. But first, Ron, tell everybody what he did wrong, and then we'll hear from the head coach.
Well, you have a chance to take this game into overtime, bleed some clock at their own 2-yard line. Josh Allen, going into the last 3 plays, had completed 9 passes out of 27 attempts. So I'm not sure what they thought would be better from their own 2-yard line, but they threw incomplete down the sideline, medium deep. They threw incomplete in the middle of the field, medium deep. And then they threw another pass incomplete. They needed 1 first down to get into long field goal range. But the fact that they didn't milk the clock, I mean, they got a first down, and I think they called their timeout. They had 1 timeout left, because they didn't have to use it, of course. And they had 1 second left, and they kicked a long field goal. It should never have happened. There should never have been time on the clock to have this happen. What makes you think, as a head coach, that if you have a quarterback 9 for 27 who should have been in concussion protocol, that he would all of a sudden get red hot from his own 2-yard line? Play the tape.
Yeah, let's hear from the coach.
Okay, tough game. I thought our guys did a great job coming back. Coaches made good adjustments. Just not enough in the end, and that's on me. The end of game situation on offense, we're in a tough situation. 3 timeouts. They were holding 3 timeouts. I got a good field goal kicker. We needed to run the clock and move the chains, and that's on me. We didn't do that there, and that's my fault.
That's 2 on me.
On board with the 3 play call, the 3 passes in that situation.
I'm not going to get into that. I don't think that's relevant right now, Sal. Overall, again, that's on me, and
3.
So we just got to do a better job. I got to do a better job in that situation.
Is that a situation where if you throw it once, you're going to throw it 3 times? Or if you run it once, you're going to run it 3 times, because even if you leave them with 1 timeout, that's all they needed in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about holding 3 timeouts, where we were, they've got a really strong leg field goal kicker. We knew that. There's a potential, if the situation goes 3 straight runs, you're running 6 seconds off potential each time, and you're maybe in a similar situation, So either way, we got to do a better job, and that starts with me.
That's 5.
100%.
Is there something to the idea, though, that if it's going to go one way or the other, have it go one way or the other with 17 with the ball in his hands?
I love Josh with the ball in his hands. I do. And, again, efficient offense was the right approach there, and I didn't have us do that. And, so again, we learned from that. Tough situation. They're holding 3 timeouts, like I said. They got a good field goal kicker, and you go back and forth. And hey, I probably should have run it on the first play and just said, hey, where are we now? Either way, we're probably going to have to move the chains 1 time, right, to not give them a chance. But again, those are situations, and that's on me.
Last thought about not taking the 10-second runoff on the intentional ground.
We did, yeah, we did, and again, we talked about it after the game, and you don't know where that punt's going to land. The punt goes in the end zone. We're at the 20, and we got a chance, right? So, or do they, because of their kicker, do they hang on and run the clock down and try and do something on the last play? So, again, situational football. So just, again, that's on me.
That's 8 on me's in the 5 question. We don't usually play it this long, but Ron, that was for you, because you said, you think he can get me some Sean McDermott sound? Did he cover everything 8 times? It's on me. And yes, it is on you, buddy.
Yeah, there's a movie, one of the greatest movies of all time, The Best Years of Our Lives, where the wife of the character played by Frederick March writes down the number of drinks that he has before he has to give a speech. And it got to 5 or 6. McDermott got even further than that classic scene in one of the greatest movies of all time.
And we don't even know how many drinks McDermott had after the game.
So Josh Allen finishes 9 for 30. They don't run the clock off, and it's embarrassing as a coach to have to go through that kind of scenario. And if they cut him some slack about 3 plays, passing versus running, you could get a safety. You could have holding in the end zone and have a safety.
All right. Well, you would have fired him already, because it's not the first time he's mismanaged the clock. He went to the Mike Shanahan school of I don't own a watch, so that doesn't matter at all, but whatever.
Cris, your thoughts on the game?
Monday, of course.
I've got no thoughts on that game. The one that was played. Are you talking about the Monday night game?
Yeah, Monday night.
Yes, Monday night game.
Bills at the Jets. New coach.
I think, fortunately, I'll be teasing it one way or another, but no straight bet on it. The model's kind of it's right where it is. So this is a very teasable game, and there's no need.
2.5 everywhere.
2.5. Yep.
Okay. Expect that
So
to go
I assume
to
that
3
means you're teasing the Jets, right?
I actually have some Buffalo plus 7.5 on us, just on one bet. I'll end up on both directions on this game. I think it's a candidate, a solid candidate to stay within a touchdown. So
typical divisional game there.
Yeah.
Incredibly important game for the Jets, because if they lose this game, the mindset, the body language, you lose a home game to a divisional rival, you fall one step further behind. We started this show with San Francisco, Seattle, same situation. Do you want to fall 2 games behind? The Jets are at home in this. This is the 3rd straight road game for Buffalo, although I do think playing on the Monday night negates part of that. But it's the 3rd straight time that they're not on home turf. I don't care one way or another in this case about the interim coach bounce, but I do think the line is high because I set it at 1.
Okay.
I have it that it's supposed to be 1.5. So
yeah. So when the line was 3, which it was not that long, I thought that was value.
Okay. I saved the best for last back in regards to tonight's game. Our old buddy Brandon Staley, who's in charge of the defense for the San Francisco 49ers tonight. He's pulling a Chargers move so far. They have blown leads, and nobody's talking about the Brandon Staley factor that he's taken a move from the Chargers up to San Francisco. Your thoughts, boys?
I personally don't know how much actual say he has in game day play calling and stuff like that and alignment. So I'm not sure I can answer that question. During the week, he probably has some input.
Okay, here's the stat of the day. The Niners are 27th in second half points allowed per game this year at 13.2. Last year, before Staley, they were 7th with 8.9 allowed in the second half. Just saying.
Jesus.
Well, one thing I've noticed is that Geno Smith and his team often has to come from behind as well. So if I'm rooting for Seattle tonight, I really don't want them to start as slow as they have on occasion.
Right. So we might have a couple of second half plays here, boys. Always versus Baltimore, whoever they're playing in the second half, if they have the lead, which they probably will tonight, or Sunday. And then in this game, go Seattle second half play against the Staley D.
I'd like to see Seattle start faster.
Yeah, me too.
That's it for me. I got nothing left.
I got nothing left. Anything else you're looking forward to, Chris?
It'd be pretty incredible if the Tigers actually won another series. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Even the Detroit media can't believe it.
Mickey Lolich going tonight. Who do you got?
It's pitcher by committee, I think.
Oh, really? Like the Dodgers?
I don't even know, but so a little bit interested in that. Going to be focused on the game tonight and trying to map out the flow for Sunday. I have a little bit of concern on a few games, and that's about it.
I'm excited to see games on Sunday because there are none here in LA. I'm not going to one, so I can actually watch a bunch as opposed to have to catch up afterwards, which means I won't have any one-on-one interviews.
Oh, you and your pity party of, I won't be at the game and in the locker room talking to the players this week.
Hey, it's all for you guys and all of our viewers. Come on.
Thanks to all of our viewers for watching and listening and asking questions. I think it's a fascinating weekend. We're going to learn a lot from these teams after this weekend. So looking forward to it.
Week 6, no more quartiles.
We appreciate it. And I will leave with this last comment about alkaline. And this is not a joke. I always thought alkaline batteries were named after alkaline. I seriously
I
did
said
when I
that
was a
before
kid.
you were born, that joke. It's a great, and I did meet him once at a game in Dodger Stadium, an all-star game, and he signed my book. So just want you to know, good guy.
Greatness touching greatness.
There you go. See you, boys and girls.
Bye.
Later.